Deathwatch Index 2. The sequel to Deathwatch Index, not counting the Imperial Agent spin-off series. This is not just a detachment for the Deathwatch, it is a full index. Much like we had at the start of the edition, much like the Space Wolves have at the moment, where it has their unit cards and a detachment. So we should see unit cards redone for the Deathwatch and made Adeptus Astartes, much like we had at the start of the edition. The first part of this video was recorded before seeing the index rules to explain the problems we have if the Deathwatch are only in Imperial Agents, because these are the problems that the index needs to solve. What is it that's stopping you from playing them as Deathwatch Space Marines like a watch company? What needs to change? I don't know if Games Workshop will fix all of these, but some resolved would be an improvement. I have generally been okay with Deathwatch and Imperial Agents. Generally. I am glad it is temporary. 1 or 2 working detachments is not the same as the many lots that Space Marines get. So this is what needs to be fixed. This is what is not working with Imperial Agents that we need to have an index for. The Deathwatch need the Adeptus Astartes keyword for stratagems in the Space Marine codex to work on them. As Imperial Agents allied into Space Marine armies, they don't have the Adeptus Astartes keyword to benefit from detachment rules. And with the detachment in the Deathwatch Index, will the stratagems work on Codex Space Marine units? Or do Space Marine units need the Deathwatch keyword to function? This shouldn't be an army that is in 2 parts, with the Deathwatch and the Space Marines being completely different things where only one of the 2 sides benefits from any rules. It should be both. If the lore is going to have Deathwatch intercessors, there should be ways to have Deathwatch intercessors have benefits as Deathwatch, as well as the Space Marines. And characters. We only have Watch Captain Artemis. If that is the only captain we can add to our units and the Watchmaster is the only other character, that's not a lot of characters that can join our units. What if you have a really cool Judicia conversion and you want to use them inside a Deathwatch kill team? Can these characters join Deathwatch kill teams? The same for the Lieutenant and the Apothecary from the Deathwatch Combat Patrol. I have a half-built Apothecary. He has the Deathwatch shoulder pad. Do I finish him as an Apothecary, or do I give him a spear and make him a Watchmaster? The Deathwatch need to be able to work with the Space Marine characters. And the same for the vehicles. Can the Deathwatch units, like the Deathwatch kill team, enter Land Raiders and get into transport like other Firstborn units? Can they get into Razorbacks? Jumping out of a Razorback with 5 Deathwatch veterans and being able to have full rerolls to hit from the Deathwatch veteran squad and full rerolls to wound because of fire support is very strong. Can we do that? And thinking of rerolls, do we get the Oath of Moment? Is that going to be on our new data cards? Is it going to be there as the army rule? Because the Imperial Agents do not have an army rule, just you can ally into other factions. Whereas factions like the Imperial Knights have their own army rule, and also that rule to allow them to ally into other factions. Oath of Moment isn't the most important thing for Deathwatch kill teams because they already reroll hits, but it matters for other kill teams. How many enemies are you going to be able to kill if you have or don't have rerolls? I don't know, can't you just guess? Or you could use Adept Roll. It figures out how many shots should hit and how many enemies of the Imperium will die. The app has direct import from Battlescribe, so I can take a Black Star, remove any of the weapons I have not equipped it with and skip melee weapons if I just want to calculate shooting, and see how many gaunts get blasted apart, with a breakdown of which weapon is doing the most work. I can add modifiers for the enemy if they had cover or some alien shenanigans, and you can see from the paler bar what would happen without any modifiers. In this case, just twin linked. That's an app available on iOS and Android with a link in the description and comments. The base version is free. So we're getting the Deathwatch Index. Can the Deathwatch still be used as a key part of Imperial Agents, and how does that work? The Deathwatch units can also get good mileage out of the AdMech Halo Screed detachment. You choose a set number of units to have the keyword, and that is not locked behind the Adeptus Mechanicus keyword. So you can have allied Deathwatch kill teams through Imperial Agents, and those Deathwatch could have +1 toughness or stealth. So a Proteus kill team could be toughness 6, an Indomitor kill team could be toughness 7. There's also the option of an allied knight advancing and charging. But more Space Marine focused, How do the Deathwatch interact with the Space Wolves and the Blood Angels and the Dark Angels and the Black Templars? With the Imperial Agents rules, Deathwatch can be used alongside Blood Angels in a Blood Angel detachment. Can we still have Blood Angel and Deathwatch Index units in the same army? I got a Furioso Dreadnought because it has a cool Deathwatch looking Dreadnought frag cannon. I got it second hand from a Blood Angel player who was like, who plays with Legends units? And instead of replying, Christian von Carmian. Cool people. I took a cheap second-hand Furioso Dreadnought. Can we use the Blood Angel detachments? Can the Ultramarine keyword Lieutenant Titus join Deathwatch kill teams? Are Deathwatch back as a chapter keyword? And I'm mentioning units that are Imperial Agent Legends. Have the Deathwatch units come back from Legends? Are they here in the Index like they were at the start of the edition in Index version 1? And do they still work in the same way? If this Index remakes units to match the kit and then we have Deathwatch shotguns and snipers like they have in Imperial Agents, are the Legend Deathwatch units coming back? Is there a separate Deathwatch Index Legends document? Or do we have just the one kill team, a Watchmaster, Captain Artemis, and a Black Star? Then everything else would have to be from Codex Space Marines. Kill Team Cassius, for example, if there was no change, they would be in Imperial Agents Legend. And even if all of the others were remade to have the Adeptus Astartes keyword in this index, Kill Team Cassius wouldn't. They could be allied in as Imperial Agents, but they wouldn't get the Stratagems or the detachment bonus, because Imperial Agents don't have the Deathwatch faction or Imperial Agents keyword. And if we're updating datasheets, are the Aggressor style models gonna hit on a 3+? Has the Fortis kill team got chainswords that no longer hit on a 4+? Have these fixes been made? So I made a few suggestions as to how Games Workshop may fix this. They could just add Adeptus Astartes keyword to these units and call it a day. Then we can use Space Marine detachments and stratagems and go in transports but can't be joined by characters and wouldn't get Oath of Moment. There was the Kroot style detachment for the Deathwatch. You can take other Marine units, but only Deathwatch keyword units would get the benefit of enhancements and stratagems. Or there's the Brood Brothers style. A Deathwatch detachment that can take a percentage of Space Marine units, and stratagems and enhancement work on either by specifying keywords. But we don't know which Space Marine units would be allowed. It's a long list. Are they going to include or exclude any Space Marine Legends units? A mix of these is also possible, and that would give us something like what the Deathwatch Index version 1 was. Okay. Let's look at the index together and see how far it solves our problems. Oh, new unit. Okay, rework some others. Yeah. Yes. This can work. From Games Workshop, the index has been updated for the new edition, the current 10th edition, like the previous index. Okay, so how does Deathwatch work now? In the current form of 10th edition, there are two ways to play the Deathwatch, as Space Marine Deathwatch or as Agents Deathwatch. This is much like the Sisters and the Grey Knights. There are Sisters and Grey Knight units that are agents, and separately, they have their own codex or index. You can still play Deathwatch in Agents if you want with the Ordo Xenos detachment or any other Imperial Agents detachment, like the new one coming for the Agents in December. It is the Deathwatch units as they appear in the Imperial Agents Codex and the Legends PDF. No Space Marine units, no Talon Strike kill team. That's a new thing. Ooh, new things. Alternatively, if you don't want to do the agent version, which I think most people won't, you use this new index, with these new Deathwatch units having the Adeptus Astartes keyword. These new datasheets are better and different to the ones found in the Imperial Agents Codex and Imperial Agents Legends. I will explain how they're better and all the way they've changed in a separate video. And you can use the detachment that's in this index, or we can use any of the Space Marine Codex detachments like the Gladius detachment or the Vanguard detachment, swapping the Blackspear Task Force stratagems for the ones found in that detachment. These Index Deathwatch units have the Adeptus Astartes keyword, so they will benefit from the detachment rules and stratagems that are within those detachments. Good! Just like the start of 10th edition. Hopefully, there is no future limit that locks Index and Codex supplement Space Marine chapters to their own detachment. But I see mission tactics, the detachment rule of the Blackspear Task Force as a unit rule. So either Deathwatch will be locked into this one detachment forever, oh please no, or wherever they go, they have the mission tactics. It could be a mistake, but it could be a great time to have the best of two detachment rules. Use the Gladius detachment, get that detachment rule and stratagems, and also get to use the mission tactics. Because, like Oath of Moment, that doesn't go away just because you are, say, a Dark Angels player using a Codex Dark Angels detachment, and the Oath of Moment rule is in the other Codex Space Marine book. It's there as a faction rule. You always get faction rules regardless of detachment. Weird. But because the Deathwatch is a faction keyword in the bottom right of the unit cards, we can't use these Deathwatch units in the Dark Angels or Blood Angels Codex supplement detachments. They have a rule that says you can only use units from that chapter, so you can only use Blood Angels units in the Blood Angel detachments, not Space Marine units from other chapters if they have a chapter keyword. And because of a rule in the Space Marine Codex on mixing chapters, I can't have my Furioso Dreadnought as a Furioso Dreadnought fighting alongside Deathwatch from this index. I would probably use a Blood Angel detachment and Imperial Agent Allies Deathwatch version. So there's no Lieutenant Titus, who now has his own rules, joining our Deathwatch units as he is an Ultramarine, and we can't mix chapter keywords in this or any other detachment. But our characters can join Deathwatch kill teams. It's a simple fix that we've seen before earlier in version 1 of the index. If a character can join X unit, they can also join this unit. And transports. Page 1 of the index has the kill teams rule, which just says for the purposes of determining who can go in what transport, kill team models follow normal restrictions. The units are now split up more distinctly by armor and have their armor keyword. So if a Rhino can't carry Tacticus models, it can't take the Fortis kill team. The Black Star can take aggressors from Codex Space Marines, or it can take the Indomitor kill team. Each of those models will weigh the same because this Black Star says those models will take up more space. It should make sense just from the rules that are on the transport. A lot of the extra wording before was from where you had mixed kill teams with Terminators and regular Marines, and also bikes. We're going to see that those are different, but now it should just make sense by itself. And it does mean that the Agent's Black Star has different limits to the Index Black Star. If you spot any janky things, let me know in the comments. Oath of Moment. All of the units in this detachment have the Oath of Moment special rule. So we can have rerolls to hit on one particular enemy unit we really hate that particular time of day. This is very much Index version 1, version 2. There are a lot more updates because there have been changes to the units that exist in the Space Marine Codex and elsewhere. So the Blackspear Task Force has limits when you are playing in the Blackspear Task Force. Certain units are not allowed, which does include Legends units. They are called out by name. We'll get to them. We have the pretty standard limit of chapter-specific things, so the Blackspear Task Force can be for any Adeptus Astartes unit, but not ones that have the chapter keyword from another chapter. So you can't take the Lion in this detachment, because he has the Dark Angels chapter keyword. There is no allying in Agents of the Imperium Deathwatch units. So you couldn't have 3 Spectrus kill teams from the Index and then 3 Spectrus kill teams from the Imperial Agents. We're going to see that a lot of the stratagems would work on the Agents of the Imperium units. But that limitation is removed when using Codex Space Marine detachments. It's just for the Blackspear Task Force that these restrictions apply. Those other detachments have no such limits. But of course then we're in the problems that I mentioned at the start of this video. The Deathwatch Agents of the Imperium don't have the Adeptus Astartes keyword, so those Agents of the Imperium Deathwatch wouldn't get the benefits of like the Gladius Task Force. Whereas the Index Deathwatch units would. And yet, there we have a good reason to use the Gladius Task Force. I'm going to use that as an example a lot. And in the Gladius Task Force include the Agents of the Imperium version of the Corvus Black Star. That can transport 12 Deathwatch infantry models. You can fit more of your new Indomitor kill team with the Deathwatch keyword. It's a faction keyword rather than a unit keyword. 10 of them could fit into the Agents version, but they couldn't fit into the Index version. This is yet another thing that's making me think, they're going to change the Space Marine Codex to limit what units you can take in the Codex Space Marine detachments. In the Blackspear Task Force, there is a big limit on the kinds of Terminators you can take. The only Terminator unit you can have are Deathwatch Terminators. No Assault Terminators, no regular Terminators, no Relic Terminators. No army of just Terminators in this detachment. There are no Firstborn Assault Squads or Assault Squads with jump packs from Legends, but you can have Assault Intercessors or Assault Intercessors with jump packs. Those Primaris units are allowed in the Blackspear Task Force, but no scouts of any kind or the land speeder Storm to transport them, which matches the Deathwatch lore. They don't do scouts, they don't recruit people in the traditional way, and much like Index version 1, no Devastators or tactical squads. But you can have the very similar Space Marine Primaris units of Intercessors and Desolation Marines. And again, these limits go away if you're using a Space Marine Codex detachment. If you want to have a kill team next to a tactical squad, you can in like the Firestorm Assault detachment. In this index, there is no longer the Veteran Bike Squad, something we had in version 1. And outside of the Agents Legends, I am not seeing an Index Deathwatch Legends document with a re-uploaded version of the Veteran Bikers with the Adeptus Astartes keyword. I would have said, yeah, it's fine to use them from the start of the edition with those keywords in that version, but Kill Team Cassius doesn't get that pass. You can use Space Marine Outriders or the Legend Space Marine Bikers, but not the attack bike. Kill Team Cassius is an exception. Kill Team Cassius is a weird one. You can include Kill Team Cassius while you can't include any other Agents of the Imperium Deathwatch units. So you don't use the previous version of Index 1, Kill Team Cassius. You have to use the Agents of the Imperium, Kill Team Cassius. They are still agents, they do not have the Adeptus Astartes keyword. They can use the Stratagems as a Kill Team keyword unit, but they won't have Oath of Moment as that is not on their unit card. And as they're not Adeptus Astartes, they won't use mission tactics. All other Space Marine units in the Blackspear Task Force army will, Deathwatch keyword or not. Land Raiders will get it, Dreadnoughts will get it, all of them as long as they are Adeptus Astartes. So that puts Kill Team Cassius in a weird situation. I'm sure they could have just made a Legends Kill Team Cassius Index Deathwatch version. It's just the same thing as before, you just correct the keywords and give them Oath of Moment. And there isn't a Proteus kill team to use the Kill Team Cassius models with different rules. That's an unfortunate situation. But at least Kill Team Cassius partly works. Stratagem-wise, it will work. Okay, let's have a look deeper into the detachment, as this is Detachment December. So what completely new stratagems await us? Well, when I say Control-C, you say Control-V. Control-C. Control-C. It's almost a one-to-one copy and paste. I wouldn't call this a new Grotmus detachment, as we have seen it all before, though with slight differences. The mission tactics in Index version 2 are the same as they were in Index version 1. At the start of your command phase, you can pick one of the mission tactics to be active. Each one can only be active once per battle, and they last until your next command phase. So we have the Furor tactics for sustained hits 1 on everything, shooting in combat for all Adeptus Astartes units. There are Malleus tactics for lethal hits. And there are Purgatus tactics for precision on a critical hit. This is like the version 1, and the critical hits for the Purgatus tactics are on hit rolls, not on critical wounds like in the Agents of the Imperium version. In the Agents of the Imperium version of this detachment, you can use Hellfire rounds to get critical wounds on a 2+ and cause loads of damage going for enemy characters. The critical hits on a 6, you have to get really lucky and roll a 6 to hit with like a melter weapon for it to have any effect on characters. It is by far the worst one. But you know, after you've used the other two, you might as well throw it out there, just in case. The enhancements look like version 1 index, but with the slight changes as if they'd been in FAQ. So the Thief of Secrets is the same as the start of the edition, it just clarifies that you get the bonuses at the end of the fight phase. +1 strength damage and AP is nice. And being able to go +2 strength, +2 damage and +2 AP on something like a Power Fist on a Captain, that's so very good. Damage for Power Fists are appreciated. But it looks like it's gone up 10 points because of just how good it is. The Beacon Angelus is exactly the same, The unit gets to deep strike and can rapid ingress for free. If you want an Indomitor kill team in the middle of it, this is what you give to a character joining that unit. You could do the same for a regular kill team. It is another good enhancement. The Osseous Key is not a good enhancement. It's a Watchmaster or a Tech Marine only. You need to get within 12 inches of an enemy vehicle, and it then takes a leadership test. Most vehicles have a really good leadership stat. If it passes the test, it is -1 to hit. If the test is failed, it is not able to shoot. And because you need line of sight, it's only going to happen if the enemy tank rolls into your face. And even then, they might just pass their leadership test. Not a great enhancement, and you can't use it on Titanic vehicles like Chaos Knights or the Monolith. The Tome of Ectoclades is basically the same as it was at the start of the edition, with the changes that happened to Oath of Moment. The Index version 1 Tome of Ectoclades let you have another unit selected for Oath of Moment that gave you full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound. That is how Oath of Moment was at the very start of the edition. It was just another version of that. And even when the Codex Space Marine's Oath of Moment was changed, the Tome of Ectoclades in Index version 1 remained the same. Now, version 2 Index, the Tome of Ectoclades has been updated to match the current Oath of Moment. As long as your captain or watchmaster is on the table, you get to select an additional Oath of Moment target, meaning that there are 2 units in the enemy army that you're getting to reroll hit rolls against. While the Thief of Secrets went up in points, the Beacon Angelus is down by 5 points, the Osseous Key is down by 5 points, and the Tome of Ectoclades, in its slightly revised version, is down 10 points. Still worth having for extra Oath of Moment and reroll to hit if you're not fighting aliens, which you may not know before the game, and you don't have lots of the Deathwatch veterans. Okay, the Stratagems. Well, this'll be new and interesting. There are slight tweaks though. Armor of Contempt is the same. Armor of Contempt is in every Space Marine detachment. Decrease the armor penetration of an attack by 1 in combat or shooting. Good, we know what it does. Everyone knows what it does. Everyone's fought against it at least once. Adaptive Tactics is really nice. It is like version 1 of the Index. 2 kill team units or 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army. You get to pick one of the mission tactics to be active for that unit, or units. Doesn't matter if it's been used already this game, doesn't matter if there is no tactic active at the moment. The chosen units will get the bonuses. And when it's 2 kill teams, and we're going to see how many lethal hits there are, I think that adding on the Furor tactics is going to be great for lots of sustained hits. This is better than the Gladius Task Force version, where you get to change 1 unit to a different tactic. Despite having the kill team keyword, this won't let any tactics be available for kill team Cassius, because kill team Cassius doesn't have the Adeptus Astartes keyword that is built in to the Malleus, Furor, and Purgatus tactics. It can be active for them, but there are no Adeptus Astartes models in that squad. It'll do nothing. I like that we're keeping this about Deathwatch kill teams. And we see that change in the special ammunition. Like the Hellfire rounds. There is a slightly updated version in Index version 2. The stratagem is limited only to kill team units, not to any Adeptus Astartes units, kill teams only. So this is where kill team Cassius can use it. The Hellfire rounds are limited to a kill team unit only, not any Adeptus Astartes unit. So we won't have a problem that we had in 10th edition's earlier times of Desolation Marines firing off missile after missile that are suddenly anti-infantry 2+. This change matches how the same detachment is within the Agents of the Imperium flavoured version. That is 1 Deathwatch unit. This is 1 kill team. There are so many different versions of this rule that'll be in play at the same time. It could get confusing. But importantly, the errata that was out for version 1 of the Deathwatch Index that limited the special ammunition to bolt weapons is no longer there. We're not fighting with an incomplete list of what is considered a bolt weapon. This is a good solution. I know it's not 2 kill teams like it was at the start of the edition, but 1 kill team but all of their weapons work is nice. Hellfire rounds will often be the one that gets applied the most. It doesn't work on weapons with devastating wounds, so we're not changing assault cannons to be anti-infantry 2+ and triggering devastating wounds on 2+. No, that's fine. But we can get a lot of shots with missile weapons, cyclone missile weapons. Yeah, we're going to see there's a lot of things that will enjoy anti-infantry 2+. The Kraken rounds will give a kill team additional range, which means that the rapid fire range will also be increased by 3 inches. because, you know, half the range in total, and your big kill team getting an extra AP on shooting. If you can go shooting heavy with your kill team units, this is a detachment that will serve you well. And the Dragonfire rounds mean that you can advance, and you get to ignore cover with your shots. Lots of people have cover in this edition. Like, all of the time. It's a usable stratagem, and any of these special ammunition stratagems can't be used on the same unit as you're using another special ammunition stratagem. You can't be firing both Dragonfire bolts and Kraken rounds from the same gun at the same time, much as that would be useful. And finally, we have site-to-site teleportation, an update of teleportation from Index version 1, and like rapid tactical relocation from the Agents of the Imperium Ordo Xenos detachment. It still works on 2 kill team units or 1 other Adeptus Astartes infantry unit. As long as you're not within engagement range, you get to go up at the end of the opponent's fight phase and come back down at the end of your next movement phase. It lets your units get around the board, and we will see that certain units are quite well placed to be able to charge after being deployed 9 inches away from your opponent. But that is next video, a reason for all you Deathwatch players to subscribe. I play Deathwatch often, and you may also want to throw me some tip money down at the Ko-fi link in the description. That encourages me to talk about Deathwatch more. As a final verdict on this detachment, well, you may be able to see from which thumbnail I went with. I have thrown away the thumbnail that says, it's just copy and paste plus a nerf. This index fixes almost all of the problems, and bringing back and updating units from Legends was a bit unexpected. It is a shame that Kill Team Cassius didn't get a proper comeback. Only 3 of the stratagems work on them, and they're all special ammunition, and they have no Oath of Moment or mission tactics. I don't think it would have been too hard to make a new Kill Team Cassius, even if it had Legends pinned in the corner. With no Proteus kill team either, we are missing an easy replacement for them. A little more copy and paste wouldn't have hurt, and there is a lot of copy and paste. I am sick of seeing Deathwatch Blackspear Task Force 3. Give me Deathwatch 3 Reckoning. Give us some new detachment, a different way to fight with different special ammunition. Something for a more flexible and combat viable army. For that, I have come to enjoy the Gladius Task Force. The Blackspear Task Force is okay for non-Deathwatch units, but they don't get the special ammunition. That's a good compromise. Generic Space Marines should not be outperforming the host chapter's units. And if I'm right about the mission tactics as a faction ability, not just a detachment ability, the Deathwatch will outperform Space Marines in their own codex detachments, as those units will basically get 2 detachment rules. We're still waiting on the changes to Space Marines to know how that will affect this new Deathwatch index. Hopefully not Task Force 4 Blackspear forever, even though it feels that way. Several of our kill teams have had big upgrades, but that is the next video. And now that the Deathwatch are back, would you like to see how to start collecting a Deathwatch army in 10th edition? My darlings and viewers, let's purge the alien.